We've got to make sure that we have uniform procedures and uniform standards across the state for recounts in close elections. We have to make sure that everyone understands exactly how we're going to engage in a recount, how we're going to count ballots and so forth. But clearly also there's this issue around machines. And if there's no paper trail, there's no opportunity to take a look inside these machines and look into the data and the source codes, then we're at a loss. Many of these counties, there were 8 counties in Ohio that used electronic voting machines. There was no way to do a recount in those counties, even if we didn't have the resistance that we faced from elections officials, because the only thing they could do is just punch the button again and get the same tally sheet, of how the votes were. It was really absurd. What I think has to be guaranteed is hand-recorded paper ballots along with any machine technology. But that's not the only guarantee. It has to also, if we're going to use machines, we've got to be able to get access to the data and the source codes within machines, and we've got to also have the opportunity to publicly own them. The notion that a private company is going to tabulate our votes and have total control over the internal software of the machines is really deeply troubling, and I don't think people can fully trust the process in that kind of situation. And I think there's a role to be played here. Look, our democracy is under attack.
Yeah.
Our democracy is under attack. We should make no ifs, ands, and buts about it. We are facing a serious threat here from within, from people in this country who do not respect the process, who do not respect the integrity of our elections. And that's why we need to have some leadership here from one of these offices. Any one, but I'll take Massachusetts, and let's lead the country. Now, there's some other people, who are very important secretaries of state. Deb Mankiewicz in Vermont, Bill Bradbury in Oregon, Bill Gardner in New Hampshire. I think these are model secretaries of state. But I think there needs to be some new energy to really mobilize and organize and say to the Catherine Harrises and the Ken Blackwells, we're going to stand up. We're going to fight for our democracy. And yes, I would have liked that plane-loaded Secretary of State showing up saying, what can I do? How can I help count the votes here? What went wrong here? That would have been good. And we didn't have that. This is not a fallback safety position. This is a very important office in its own right. And we ought to have some new energy and new blood there, someone who's going to really be a leader. For Massachusetts, we ought to be leading the nation. We ought to be leading the nation on these fronts. Why don't we have same-day registration in Massachusetts? Why don't we have public funding of elections? Why don't we have a standard that says to the voting machine companies, we're going to make sure we're counting every vote, we're not going to bring you in? There's a National Association of Secretaries of State, and there's a role to be played for somebody who will stand up at those meetings and organize other like-minded secretaries of state and say, we're going to lead a fight to protect our democracy and safeguard the integrity of our electoral process. And that's why I'm running. I don't think we've had that kind of leadership out of that office, and I think we can have a different kind of Democrat there.
Could the